Hello, and welcome to Then and Now, where we take you on a walk through some of Mid-Michigan's most historical buildings, showing you the past and present uses of these very special landmarks. I'm your host, Mark Grigorchek, here at the City Market in downtown Bay City, home of a rich lumbering history, the Michigan famous Hell's Half Mile, and it's the setting of our first location, St. Laurent Brothers. Take it away, Micah.
Hi, I'm Micah Taryn here in downtown Bay City on Water Street, and I'm here at the St. Laurent Brothers building, or as the locals like to call it, the Nut House. So let's walk on inside, see what was then and what is now.
Located on the corner of 3rd and Water Street, St. Laurent Brothers offers a wide variety of candies, hand-dipped chocolates, and roasted nuts. In 1904, St. Laurent Brothers started roasting peanuts to create all-natural peanut butter. As the demand for fresh roasted peanut taste increased, St. Laurent Brothers started creating some new favorites, such as their roasted almonds, cashews, and macadamias. This is much different than what the structure was originally intended for. The building was originally known as Bridge Block, and later the Catacombs, which was an area of underground apartments and tunnels where prostitutes would entertain clients. Above that, on the 2nd floor, was a saloon, and on the 3rd floor, a variety theater. We talked to Steve Fry, president of St. Laurent Brothers, to get his take on this historic building.
The business is 3 phases. We have a retail store that has been sitting on this place since 1911. We have a wholesale department, which we take a van once a week and go around to different bakeries and restaurants and deliver some of our products to. And we have a manufacturing facility that we manufacture peanut butter, oil roast nuts, and hand-dipped chocolates. The building was built during the Civil War, 1865, I do believe. It was first built as a hotel type thing. During that time, when the lumbering camps would empty out, this was the cornerstone of Hell's Half Mile. And the hotel was, the expression was 7 bars and a cat house. And that's pretty much what was in here. They had access to the catacombs downstairs where they could go to the other buildings on the street. If they'd raid one building, everybody'd scurry over to the other one. It was not a very nice place to be, but the people that emptied out of those camps had money to spend, and they would find some way to spend it. Paul Bunyan, the story of Paul Bunyan was, from my knowledge, was based on a guy named Joe Fournier. And Joe Fournier was a little bit larger man for the area, for that era, and very, very tough. He was a foreman in lumber camps. He drove people and enjoyed fighting. He had 2 rows of teeth and would go around to the local bars to prove how tough he was. He'd take a bite out of the wood. He didn't get whipped much, and one time ran into a muck out here with, I think Blinky Robertson was the guy's name, and Blinky hit him and killed him with a ship's mallet, which they used to use to caulk in between the slats on the boats. But that's as far as I know. St. Laurent family had a good thing going. They started in 1904, a couple blocks over, bought this building in 1911 or 17, I can't tell you for sure, and then proceeded to be on the front edge of peanut butter manufacturing and roasting and stuff. And they had a lot of their family worked here. Good service, do things right, treat people right, and they survived till 1985 when my partner and I were lucky enough to get in here. We didn't change much because if it's not broken, we didn't want to fix it. We kept their same hours, same products, added a few here and there, and tried to always give good service. We've had really, really good employees over the years. We've had a tremendous customer base for the area. And the downtown development since we got here in the area has been outstanding. There's new restaurants, there's new shops, they've repaved the city streets for a streetscape. They've really done a nice job in trying to give the best foot forward for the area.
St. Laurent Brothers is a personal favorite of mine. Now let's head on over to Bay City Antique Center and see what Micah has in store for us there.
This place is home to a wide variety of treasures and also holds a very nice blue-collar history. So let's take a look inside, see what was then and what is now.
The history of the Bay Antique Center and Downtown Antiques begins like many other companies in Bay City, with lumbering and shipbuilding. In 1873, W.M.H. Miller and Company was selling hardware, tinware, and stoves. With the industry booming, materials were high in demand. By 1890, Burroughs and LaFrance had taken over the location and continued selling hardware until 1908. Louis M. Meisel first opened his hardware store here in 1919. In 1984, the Meisel Hardware Company finally closed its doors. Remarkably, the building itself housed hardware for at least 111 years. In 1990, William and Elaine Fournier purchased the Rosenberry building and later expanded their business to include the Meisel building. This was the new home of Downtown Antiques and Bay City's Antique Center, known as Michigan's largest and finest. For more insight, we spoke with Elaine Fournier about this building's lengthy history.
This building was built as Campbell House in 1867. It was a hotel back in the lumbering days, and it was built for businesses on the main floor, retail and cafe in the hotel lobby, liquor store, all kinds of businesses. This building became available after Rosenberry's Furniture closed down. It was a large building. We were looking for a warehouse to house our antiques and a place to work from, so the timing was great for us, so we moved to Bay City. I think the most unusual item here is the 1907 Maxwell that we have here in the building. It was a family vehicle purchased by my husband's father and mother back in the, I think, late 30s. So that's kind of a unique item to have within a store. So there's a lot of history there. Most of our acquisitions have been in Europe, actually. My husband was drafted. He had to close his antique business for a time while he was there, and he met local friends and became really good friends with a young man who was in the business of selling meat processing equipment, and they would scout antiques, and while he was out on his route, which was Germany, Austria, Northern Italy, and Switzerland, he would locate antique places, and he went back in 1975 to buy clocks and beer steins, and which is what he had started with. Those were no longer available in plenty. We have lots of architectural pieces. One of the nicest things that we have is the arch. It's an oak carved arch from St. James Church, which we acquired when the church was struck by lightning and then torn down. There is a door up there that had a sticker on that said Potter Street Station. So we're not 100% sure because I haven't located it on any photos, but it's a very tall, large door. And we also purchased many doors that came out of the Shearer building when that was being remodeled. And we have some out of I believe out of the Davison building when they did that, but that was years ago. So they have like names on them and door numbers. So that's kind of cool history too on that second floor. And we have a lot of Bay City memorabilia related to beer and brewing and just stores in general. My husband started collecting when we came to Bay City items, so we have lots of those type of things here in the store.
Lots of cool stuff over at Bay City Antiques. Now let's see what Joe has in store for us over at the Bay Historical Society.
Hey, I'm Joe, and I'm in downtown Bay City with the Bay County Historical Society to check out the Bay County History Museum. It's housed in a former National Guard Armory building that's over 100 years old. So let's take a walk around and see what was then and what is now.
The Bay County Historical Society and the Bay County Historical Museum are housed in a former National Guard Armory that's over 100 years old and was the base for the Michigan 128th Ambulance Company, which served in World War II. The last Guard unit moved out in 1986, and that's when the Historical Society acquired the building and began renovations for the Bay County Historical Museum. Now boasting 2 floors of Bay County history, from Anishinaabe Indian settlements to the rich lumbering and shipbuilding history, you'll find many interesting facts and stories when checking out the museum. We talked to Corinne Bloomfield, the chief curator of the museum, to get a little more insight into Bay County's history.
This building was constructed in 1910. It was designed by architects Pratt and Keppie. They were designers of a lot of different buildings in our general area. And there was an armory up until about 1986. And when the new armory was built over on Wilder Road next to the expressway, the museum acquired this building, the Historical Society did, for use as a museum. The museum basically collects history regarding Bay County. So we are the Bay County Historical Society, so our focus is on the community's history. And we have been collecting since 1919 when the society was organized. And we have over 250,000 items in our collection. So, anything as small as a button or a matchbook cover to the ambulance you see here behind me. One that they acquired when they were overseas in France, and it followed them home. And when the 128th Ambulance Corps came back to Michigan, it was reorganized as 121st, and members of the 128th ended up purchasing this ambulance at auction, and it was used in parades and different community events for many years. And when we ended up creating our gallery here, it was donated to the museum. We are celebrating our centennial year this year, so May 6th, 1919, the Historical Society was officially formulated. So this is a special year for the organization, and we have some special activities going on. The second Saturday of May, we will be presenting a program for our second Saturday series that focuses on the history of the Historical Society. We're going to be having a special exhibit that opens up the end of April. And we also have an opportunity for members of the public to to take part in a time capsule project that we are doing. So we have letters for tomorrow that are available, $5 for an individual and $10 for a business. And the donation of that funds for that letter goes to the Endowment for the Historical Society to help carry us through for the next 100 years. We have partnership with the Bay Aranac ISD where we work with kids with STEM learning. So we have a set of big blue blocks that we incorporate, and we work with STEM, and not only STEM but teaching history through the STEM process. We also have dozens of programs that we offer to teachers if they want to bring kids in for field trips. One of our best known events is River of Time. That's held every year in September. And that is a weekend event which involves reenactors. It's held over in Betts Park, over by the Trombley House. And we also, the second Saturday of every month, we have a free program from 1 to 2. And every month it's a different topic, and it's free to the public. You're just welcome to come in and come and see what we got going on with it.
Heading south from Bay City, we're now in downtown Saginaw, where our next stop is the Castle Museum. What do you got over there, Ramon?
Hi, I'm Ramon, and I'm inside the Castle Museum, a 120-year-old building here in downtown Saginaw, home of 3 floors of art exhibits focused on the vibrant history of downtown Saginaw. Let's take a look and see what was then and what is now. The Castle building was Saginaw's original post office, opening on July 3, 1898. It was originally designed as a French Renaissance revival style with a very steep roof so it would shed the snow. In 1973, it was taken over by the Historical Society of Saginaw and would eventually become the Castle Museum of Saginaw. Tom Trombley shares with us some of that brief history.
It was constructed in 1898, opened to the public on July 3rd of that year, and it was originally a United States post office. And they had a policy at that time that buildings should reflect the heritage and climate of the community in which they were located. And so Aiken was able to find an article about the history of Saginaw that talked about the French explorers and settlers in Saginaw, and decided to use the French Renaissance revival style as an inspiration for the design of the building. A new post office was constructed on Washington Avenue. Actually, right behind me is the seal that used to be on the front of that building and was removed in the late 70s when the post office changed its insignia. After the new one opened, this building became a substation. It was at that time that it was named the Castle Substation. and it continued to serve as a substation and federal office building into the 1970s. This building, really, we consider the largest, not consider, it is the largest object in our collection. As you go through the building, of course, there's wonderful exhibits. I can't help but promote ourselves a little about the history of Saginaw. We have some semi-permanent exhibits, but we also, in our main gallery, Centennial Hall, we do 3 changing exhibits, and then we do some smaller temporary exhibits as well. We have a West Gallery where we have smaller exhibits, and then we do a lot of smaller exhibits celebrating centennials and anniversaries in the community. So there's always something old that's new to see at the museum, is what we'd like to say. You know, there will always be new exhibits. Right now, on the lower level, we're working on a new coal mine exhibit, and then we're working on a new exhibit that will open later this year, both the coal mine exhibit. And the other one will talk about the early settlement of Saginaw, but the Native American life in Saginaw. So it really will showcase kind of the consequences of when settlers came into the area, how life's changed, and that impact. Right now we're between temporary exhibits, and we'll open on the 8th to the public on the 19th of February an exhibit called The Goodrich's Art Souvenir of Saginaw. The Goodrich brothers were African-American photographers who came to Saginaw in 1862 and operated a studio until 1922. In 1902, to celebrate the anniversary of the founding of their studio, they gave out a wonderful book of photographs that they had taken. And it's a very rare book, not seldom seen, but has wonderful images of Saginaw in 1902 that really capture Saginaw's transition and reinvention as an industrial city. And so there'll be enlargements of that and artifacts relating to that, and that opens later in this month. I'd like to encourage you to come down and explore the building and learn about Saginaw's history and see really a great building that tells the story of the community.
The Castle Museum is an awesome place. Lots of really cool things to see. We're going to stay right here in downtown Saginaw now, where our next location is a real hit, the Temple Theater. Back to you, Ramon.
Hi, it's Ramon again, and I'm here inside the Temple Theater, nearly 100-year-old building here in downtown Saginaw, one of Saginaw's main attractions. Let's sit back and see what was then and what is now. The Temple Theater is a fantastic place to catch a show in Saginaw. It has hosted many special events and is home to the world's only Barton Butterfield special organ. The theater was built in 1926 and was a little ahead of its time. It has fireproof construction and geothermal cooling for the auditorium. In the beginning, the Temple Theater hosted vaudeville acts and silent movies accompanied by an orchestra. We spoke with Kenneth Whipper to tell us a little about the treasured Temple Theater.
When Butterfield ran the theater, and when it first opened, it was a vaudeville and motion picture house. In fact, on the back of the stage it said, the Temple Theater, vaudeville and photo plays, where pleasure awaits you. What was neat about the temple, of course, is the fact that it is designed to be fireproof, because everything here is structurally made out of steel reinforced poured concrete, and of course the truss work in the attic is all steel. So the only things that could burn would be the wood decorations and the carpeting and the chairs. Where there was gold paint on the walls and gold paint on the ceiling, that's now all real gold leaf, and that won't require any much maintenance other than occasionally a cleaning, maybe every 50 years or so. As far as the future of the facility is concerned, there is a Temple Theater Foundation, and they are very well endowed and able to fund things so that they can bring shows and entertain people. Well, there are several different programs that coexist. The Choral Society, Saginaw Choral Society, they have their offices here in the building in what used to be the mosque or shrine club room part of the building. Also, the Saginaw Bay Symphony Orchestra, they have their offices then on the second floor next door, and they conduct their rehearsals and concerts here as the Choral Society. The Organ Club has 4 meetings a year. and a concert that we used to raise funds to maintain the organ. And of course, then there's a motion picture series, since the projection room is probably the most capable of any of them in the state. Also, there's a very fine digital projector up there. The Barton pipe organ was one of 12 that were designed specifically for the Butterfield chain. That's why they called it a Butterfield Special. And what was unique about it, there's 197 controls on the organ, and each one of the 12 had all of the controls in the same place. So you could go from one instrument to the other, and everything would be very familiar to you. The instrument actually is the only one that remains, that sounds as it did in 1927 when the building opened, because we have not made any changes to the sound that it produces. If it were not for this organ and the people who supported it, it would probably be a parking lot where you're standing right now.
Now we're in Midland at our final location, the Chippewa Nature Center. It's all yours, Mike.
Thanks, Mark. Michael here, and today I am at a Midland landmark that is different from all the other landmarks that you just saw. That's right, I'm talking about the Great Outdoors, or the little piece of the Great Outdoors that you can access through the Chippewa Nature Center. Let's venture out and see what was then and what is now.
The Chippewa Nature Center was conceived in 1963 when the Midland Nature Club started expressing interest in establishing a nature center. 198 acres of property located at the confluence of the Pine and Chippewa rivers, which were owned by the Dow Foundation, were leased to the Nature Center until 1975, when Dow decided to donate the property to them. It was that same year that the Visitor Center first opens to the public. Over the years, the Chippewa Nature Center has expanded and grown quite a bit, offering programs, community events, a nature preschool, and of course, a gateway to the great outdoors, which can be enjoyed via the walkways, bike trails, or the wildlife viewing areas inside the Visitor Center. We were able to learn more about the Chippewa Nature Center's background when we talked with Jen Kurtz.
The Nature Center started in 1966. The Midland Nature Club thought that it was important that the Nature Center existed. And so they created it in 1966. And so we started with a small parcel of land that was leased to us on the Chippewa River, hence our name, and a building was built, and we were starting with school programs and nature day camp, and over time the Nature Center has grown. So we now have 1,200 acres and 19 miles of trails. We have a full preschool. We have a visitor center that welcomes thousands and thousands of people every year. We see 14,000 kids here on school programs, over 1,000 kids for our nature day camp program. So it really has become a hub of the community, a place where Midland and beyond the Great Lakes Bay region can connect with the natural world. The Nature Center is right on the confluence of the Pine and Chippewa rivers, so it provides a really rich ecosystem. So we have two local rivers that are right here as part of it, and then we have forests and fields and ponds and a mitigated wetland. And so there's a lot of diversity of ecosystems that are available right here, and so the diversity of plants and animals that we're able to showcase is really amazing because of the diversity of ecosystems that are found right in this little spot. Nature is an integral part of humanity. It is where all of our needs are met, but more importantly, it provides a healthy environment for all of us. So one of the things that we've learned with having our nature preschool here, and what makes it such a great fit, is that nature is an incredible classroom for learning. The loose parts and the natural curiosity enables kids to learn in ways that come naturally. They play, they move things around, they build things. So STEM learning is a big buzzword right now, but that's what kids have been doing all along, playing in woodlots and in fields. They build things and they construct things and they see how it works and they make observations and they test theories. And so nature is the perfect environment to do that in. We're always looking towards the future, so right now the Nature Center is in a strategic planning process. The feedback that we've gotten from the community is that they love what we're doing, they love the opportunity to access nature, and they love our programs. So many of our programs are at capacity, preschool's at capacity, camps at capacity, school programs are at capacity. So right now we're looking towards growth and what that means for the Nature Center and what that means for the region. So you'll see us partnering with local nature conservancies, you'll see us partnering with local school districts to continue to build that relationship with nature for people throughout the region.
That was the Chippewa Nature Center, a beautiful place and a great way to end our show. I'm Mark Norchek, and from all of us at Then and Now, thank you for tuning in.